Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is Friday, part of our weekly roundup, where we go live every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you a little bit of what's happened all week long. Obviously, our top story is going to be Kavanaugh. That's everybody's top story. But today is the 5th of October, 2018.
So they have 51 confirmed votes.
51.
Confirmed votes. They voted today. What I love about all these procedures is, like, in the Judiciary Committee, they vote to talk about the vote, and then they vote and the vote, and then they vote the vote to get to the vote to the vote.
Right.
And then they voted the vote, and then the vote. And this made it out of committee with the Jeff Flake and Susan Collins saying, we want an FBI probe. Jeff Flake, Susan Collins came out after reading the FBI additional notes and said nothing new to see here.
Right.
Susan Collins said it was thorough. Now, Susan Collins is a senator from Maine. She is supposedly a Republican. However, she is pro-choice, pro-gay marriage. She is most decidedly one of the most left-leaning Republicans. I think she's what they call a Republican in name only.
Mm-hmm.
We won't sound out that acronym because she has supported Kavanaugh today, so we will not push that issue. I keep hearing that.
No, Jasper's on the porch. Maia, I think I did just fix the microphone wasn't turned on. We were coming out of
So I'm watching, I'm waiting. Everybody was waiting because Susan Collins, she has received threats. There have been non-stop protesters outside of her office. Just non-stop. A bunch of literal, like, 50 to 60-year-old women mostly. Just hanging out there singing We Will Overcome.
They don't have anything better to do in life.
They're paid. Like, seriously, they're paid. They admit, people, I'm not sure if I brought up the article, but one of the women on MSNBC, Donald Trump had called out, so these are paid protesters. And she's like, yeah, I'm a paid protester. What of it? I've been doing this since I was 23. I get people organized. I get people out there. I get them signs. I get them whatever, right? It's no big deal. It's what I do. Like, no shame. No shame. I got some videos for you guys. No shame. That's embarrassing. You should be ashamed.
We showed a lot of them last night.
Yeah, more.
Oh, man. It's painful.
Embarrassing. It's fun, actually, now that we know.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Yeah, it's actually, the unhinged left has gone
Kate
overboard.
Says that is not protest. It's harassment. Soros paid.
Exactly. And that is what Senator Collins' speech, I wasn't prepared for Senator Collins' speech. She literally laid into the crazy left. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not going to play it. It was literally, 45 minutes this woman went on. She talked about Judge Kavanaugh's support for the Constitution. She said a lot of things that would actually, if I was on the left, I would say, wow, I want that guy on the Supreme Court. She sat down. She says she sat down with him for hours talking about, will you overturn Roe v. Wade? Do you believe that, gay marriage is precedent in the land?
Yeah.
And a lot of these things, he said he stands on precedent, judicial precedent. I don't believe in that, okay? But he does, and Susan Collins found comfort in that. This is not about getting Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. It doesn't matter who's on the Supreme Court.
Right.
God's in control of this country. What matters is that there was a radical left-wing George Soros plot to undermine our president who chose this guy.
Right.
President Trump didn't care whether he was elected or not. He had a whole list. He had other people he wanted.
I'm going to tell you something.
He chose this guy as a moderate.
I had a thought this afternoon, and Lee and I were talking about this, how fantastic this has turned out. Because Susan Collins is kind of right. We've known this from day one, that Kavanaugh is not exactly a constitutionalist. We're not really sure where he'll stand on certain issues. However, there are two things that have come out of this. There's a possibility that this will light a fire under Kavanaugh, because if he wasn't woke before, he's woke now. If he wasn't red-pilled before, he's red-pilled now. If he doesn't have a reason to stand with all of the people that stood behind him before, he does now. Not only that, we are headed into the midterms, where historically every single midterm during a president's first run has gone in the opposite direction. Now we are gaining seats people are losing in states that they would not have lost before. So it bears to keep in mind what the devil meant for bad, I believe God is using for his glory. So what if this whole thing happened to light a fire under Republicans, to light a fire under Democrats that were maybe wavering and now they're going to be part of the walk away campaign, and to light a fire under Kavanaugh to maybe, hey, all of these people that have this belief stood behind me and all of these other people did not. When it comes down to a vote where he might be wavering one way or the other, he may just make the right decision because of what has happened to him.
Exactly.
That could be huge.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that he can see that the Clintons and George Soros is behind this hit job on him personally.
Right.
And so when I was listening to Susan Collins' speech, I was thinking to myself, wow, I can't believe that she came out this strong and she held it this close to the vest. Now, she said she believes that something happened to Dr. Ford, but she laid into the left-wing protesters who didn't help their cause by yelling before she got up from the gallery, vote no, vote no. This was the Democrats literally shooting themselves in the foot over and over again. It was like watching a meltdown happen right before you when they called out the crazies and the crazies came out. And this is where the standard Republicans, they don't like crazies. Right? Exactly. That's why they kind of distance themselves from the Tea Party people, which is why, now they're having to join hands with the Tea Party people.
Right.
And it's like a whole big kumbaya of rhinos, never Trumpers. I have seen journalists from like the National Review was a scathing anti-Trump journal that just scathing. And their journalists are coming out one by one. I'm a deplorable. I'm on the Trump train. I'm a deplorable after this Kavanaugh thing.
Right.
Because the fact that the left put this Bush moderate appointee through the ringer, they're like, that's it. That we can't do anything. We're literally going to be politically castrated if we allow them to continue, because there is no putting a conservative on the bench.
Right.
There is no putting a real, true pro-life person on the bench who believes that Roe v. Wade was the wrong decision.
Right.
If you can't even have somebody who gets on and says, I believe in precedent upon precedent, and I would not he never said I would not overturn it.
Yeah.
He said, I believe in precedent upon precedent. So it would take something intense to overturn something like this.
I'm still working on volume right now.
So, breaking, Susan Collins announces after a 45-minute speech, which was literally stomach-churning, as I just kept, like, not stomach-churning, but, like, butterfly stomachs. I'm just, like, waiting for her to say, and at the very end, she finally says, and they had a little clip in the bottom watching the women outside of Susan Collins's room, and I have to say, the Bible says don't gloat over your enemies, but I kept watching them with and I wasn't sad for them. Let's just put it that way.
I'm watching us right now. I'm not having any volume issues on my end. Okay. So I don't know if it's just on your guys' end. Sometimes that happens. You can go out, come back in. I don't know. Wish that I could help.
The U.S. Capitol Police, though, the liberals are going crazy. Everyone's having meltdowns, including Venati, celebrities. It is a sight to behold. It's actually a little bit akin to the end of Wizard of Oz when they would throw water on the Wicked Witch of the West. It is it's a humorous thing to behold. U.S. Capitol Police have to clear the entire floor from the Durskin Senate building following the speech of Senator Collins. Protesters lined up outside the Durskin Senate building this morning, and
Capitol Hill. Edward Lawrence is standing by, listening in to Susan Collins' speech, and what's been the reaction?
Yeah, well, a very interesting reaction. I can tell you that, first of all, we were outside Senator Susan Collins' office in the Dirksen building. The U.S. Capitol Police cleared the entire floor as she was finishing up her speech. I've never seen them push everyone out of the entire building on the 4th floor there. So we are now in the Hart building outside Senator Joe Manchin's office here, waiting to see if the senator is going to come out or not. Now, the protesters there, 10 of them were arrested because they did not move when the Capitol Police officer said they should. So protesters who are obviously obviously against Judge Brett Kavanaugh, were not very happy with the speech or the outcome of the speech from Senator Susan Collins. But you did hear her lay out inch by inch, line by line, why she believes that Brett Kavanaugh would be a good fit for the Supreme Court. She first laid out how the Democrats behaved, atrociously. Senator Grassley said monstrously in this, and then she laid out how the accusations against Judge Brett Kavanaugh, just in her mind, did not have merit with Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Not saying that they didn't happen, that Christine Ford wasn't attacked, just saying that she didn't believe or see evidence that it was actually Brett Kavanaugh who was involved in that. So she made a lengthy speech about this, and at the end came up with a conclusion that she believes her voters, her constituents, will accept. But it looks like she's a yes vote tomorrow. Susan?
Absolutely. Okay, Edward, let's get back to Senator George Allen. So effectively, Senator Susan Collins is a 50th vote.
Right.
So do we have the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, if everything stays the same at 50-50, Vice President Pence will cast the tie-breaking vote. There still is hope that Joe Manchin, a Democrat of West Virginia, will vote as well, so it'd be 50.
Joe Manchin, his people, I hear you.
Yeah, but Joe Manchin, he said he's a yes. He voted yes this morning
to vote
for the cloture. He just didn't want to be the deciding vote, and then have Pence be a tiebreaker or something like that.
Right.
So
Kate says, I'm not a Kavanaugh fan, but I think I can restrain myself and not lose my stuff over it. Amber says, I'm telling you, the midterms will end with violence across the country. If things go our way, this will be our fight.
Senator Murkowski looks like she might be against it, but she cares a lot about the rights and the sovereignty of the Alaska tribes, and so that's a big issue in Alaska and throughout Indian country across the country. Yeah. So that's another issue that's not as big an issue in Maine. But I think
Indian country. I thought you had to say Native American.
I don't think you can say Indian country.
So the doors of the 4th floor of the Durskin building have been blocked. Let's see. I'm going to find creepy porn lawyer Michael Avenatti has a epic Twitter meltdown, attacks Susan Collins and reporters over Kavanaugh. Michael Avenatti, whatever, the anti-Trump lawyer and porn star Stormy Daniels, and the Kavanaugh rape gang accuser Julie Swetnick is considering a run for 2020.
It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
I want you to hear what Senator Collins had to say here about this.
Reviewing Judge Kavanaugh's record and listening to 32 hours of his testimony, the Senate's advice and consent roll was thrown into a tailspin following the allegations of sexual assault by Professor Christine Blasey Ford. The confirmation process now involves evaluating whether or not Judge Kavanaugh committed sexual assault and lied about it to the Judiciary Committee. Some argue that because this is a lifetime appointment to our highest court, the public interest requires that doubts be resolved against the nominee. Others see the public interest as embodied in our long-established tradition of affording to those accused of misconduct a presumption of innocence. In cases in which the facts are unclear, they would argue that the question should be resolved in favor of the nominee. Mr. President, I understand both viewpoints. This debate is complicated further by the fact that the Senate confirmation process is not a trial. But certain fundamental legal principles about due process, the presumption of innocence, and fairness do bear on my thinking, and I cannot abandon them. In evaluating any given claim of misconduct, we will be ill-served in the long run if we abandon the presumption of innocence and fairness, tempting though it may be. We must always remember that it is when passions are most inflamed, that fairness is most in jeopardy.
That was just one piece. I think
she is a little bit shaky. Like, isn't she up for re-election at some point?
Not this time around.
Okay, good. Because I can't play just because she's a Republican. The lady sounds a little bit peaked.
I think she's a little older, too.
The presumption of innocence is relevant to the advice and consent function when an accusation departs from a nominee's otherwise exemplary record. I worry that departing from this presumption could lead to a lack of public faith in the judiciary and would be hugely damaging to the confirmation process moving forward. Some of the allegations levied against Judge Kavanaugh illustrate why the presumption of innocence is so important. I am thinking in particular not of the allegations raised by Professor Ford, but of the allegation that when he was a teenager, Judge Kavanaugh drugged multiple girls and used their weakened state to facilitate gang rape. This outlandish allegation was put forth without any credible supporting evidence and simply parroted public statements of others. That such an allegation can find its way into the Supreme Court confirmation process is a stark reminder about why the presumption of innocence is so ingrained in our American consciousness.
So I think that was like her saying to the Democrats, you overplayed your hand and I can't even discuss reality with you.
Yeah.
And the fact that the media ran with it. He's a rapist. And these women are literally parroting something that is absolutely absurd.
Can we just pause for 1 second and remind ourselves that Kavanaugh is trying to become a Supreme Court justice. That means that the law, as it is written, has to be carried out at every point in the process. So if you're going to toss out Kavanaugh by saying that he's guilty until proven innocent, then does that mean that you're saying that that's how all judges and lawyers, prosecutors, or whatever should handle every case in our country? Where are we trying to just switch everything? It's not even that this is somebody that's going up to be a senator or something like that. We are literally dealing within the law. So if you're to ask a judge or a lawyer to all of a sudden toss out one of the greatest foundations of our country, which is innocent until proven guilty.
Like, imagine if he had a case before him.
Should he just automatically say, well,
the woman says,
and so I have to always believe the woman? There is nothing in the Constitution that says we should believe a woman who accuses a man of rape all the time. That is not law. That's not our legal, because figuring out whether someone is innocent or someone is guilty is so difficult in our country. We have to go by some baseline. And guess what? Some people, whether it's Stephen Avery, because I watched that entire documentary on Netflix, are going to slip through the cracks. I believe that dude's innocent. They're going to slip through the cracks, and that is really unfortunate. But we have to, and so if Miss Ford was raped by Kavanaugh, unfortunately...
She wouldn't even say she was raped.
She didn't even say that she was raped. Come on, thank you. If Kavanaugh, I guess I should say, did commit these crimes, and there are all these innocent Kavanaugh victims in a wake that are never going to see justice, that's really, really bad, and it's really, really unfortunate. But if you guys can come up with a better process for weeding out and finding the truth that our founding fathers didn't have, I don't know what that is.
You're supposed to have a jury of your peers with evidence.
Now, I do want to take a minute to call out. I love it when viewers that don't comment often do comment. And I don't know how long ago it was, but I think her name was Crystal, commented and said, I don't comment very often. But I love you girls and I love what you're doing, and I got to go make dinner and I'll watch this back later. So I wanted to call that out and say thank you for making a comment, because it really, I lost the comment, but that's mostly what it said. Thank you for making a comment, because we love to hear from those of you that don't comment too often, but that are a part of the Resistance Chicks family.
So Avenatti says, Senator Collins is channeling Donald Trump, entirely disingenuous and shameful. Where was she when Judge Garland could not even get an up or down vote? This is all about her post office job opportunities on K Street. We shall never forget. Not in November, not in 2020, not ever. Senator Collins should be ashamed of herself for attacking my client and Dr. Ford. How did she make a credibility determination as to my client? How is she qualified to do that without any investigation? She did zero to determine whether my client and her witnesses were credible.
Because there was no evidence presented, creepy porn lawyer. There was no evidence. As a lawyer, you should know that if you're going to present a case, you have to have facts. Just saying that there are facts doesn't equal facts. And that's what I'm seeing with the left over and over and over again with this whole Kavanaugh thing, whether it's Avenatti or whatever. They keep saying they're not investigating these facts. They're not investigating the facts. And then you have people like Mitch McConnell coming out and saying, there's no facts that are being presented. Then you have the left saying, well, you're not investigating these facts. What facts? They aren't there. Just you stating that there are facts doesn't make them appear out of nowhere.
Somebody said, hard to state how much Avenatti's entrance into this process hurt the Democrat effort to bring down Kavanaugh's nomination.
I would say 20%.
Yeah. He says, Senator Collins does not have the judgment to be a U.S. Senator. She never met my client, never had an interview with her, and met the 6 witnesses supporting her declaration.
Oh, my gosh.
Or had them interviewed. Yeah, I'm sure there were 6 witnesses to. So breaking, Democrat Senator Joe Manchin, he is in West Virginia. While he's up significantly over his Attorney General, Joe Morrissey, I think his name is Morrissey, Republican challenger, who I think Donald Trump went and that's who he was campaigning for in West Virginia the other night. But he knows if he doesn't vote for Kavanaugh,
it's over for him.
Well, it may not be over, but he'll lose several points, and people will be
true
because he met people
It may not be
the street.
Over. But I love that he came out and he said, "I'm listening to you guys. I hear you." And so he's saying that he's going to vote for Kavanaugh.
Manchin says, based on all the information I have available to me, including the recently completed FBI report, I have found Judge Kavanaugh to be a qualified jurist who will follow the Constitution to determine cases based on the legal findings before him. Now, that was after Susan Collins' speech.
Okay.
So he had to wait to make sure that he wasn't a deciding vote, because he will be, no,
I get that. Doxed, and people will come after him and harass him, and
rape apologists, liberals meltdown over Susan Collins' blockbuster speech on Kavanaugh. It was, if you guys want to have something entertaining to watch tonight, watch the speech. I was not expecting it. It came out, it did not come out of left field. It came out of like weeks of obvious study and thought. And I
don't know, though. I think maybe she might have been leaning towards Kavanaugh all along.
That's what I mean. But, she's been writing this for weeks, I think.
Right. No, what I'm saying, yeah, exactly. And I think she was just afraid. Mm-hmm. And she should have been, because these people are coming out, and she's a frail, older lady. I mean, she doesn't want to die.
So we're going to take a look at Twitter, which has become literally the real-time sounding board around the world. That's why I'm on Twitter. I found this,
and that's why it's so disconcerting when they're silencing you.
Exactly. And like me, you can't really see my stuff. Kathy Griffin's fine. You can see her stuff all the time, not censored whatsoever.
Yeah.
She says, F-list cunt 2.0 of Jeff Flake, and she says, F you to Senator Collins.
Did you just say the C word out loud?
No, I said F-list.
Yeah, but I don't like that C word at all. You said it out loud.
I did. Oh, I'm sorry.
It out loud.
I didn't mean to. Try to bleep things out. Radical left-wing blogger Bill Palmer said in his since-deleted tweet that Susan Collins, just through her ability to ever set foot in public again. Is that a threat? There's been a lot of threats.
That sounds like a threat.
There's a Planned Parenthood that said, if you confirm Kavanaugh, we're coming for you. That was by blue checkmark. See, blue checkmark people can do all kinds of crazy stuff, but I, as resistance chicks, am hid from, like, what they do is I make a tweet and I can see it, but with the algorithm, because we are resistance chicks, right-leaning people, nobody else can see it. It is shadow banning.
I'm not supposed to say anything, and so don't say anything. What I'm about to say, because I'm not supposed to say anything, okay? But it is possible that resistance chicks might be entering security lockdown, might be upgrading our systems, and that's all I can tell you. And so that may not be an issue at some point, and that's all I can say.
Senator Susan Collins just threw away her career, her reputation, and her ability to ever set foot in public again.
That's a threat.
Every minute of the rest of her life will be completely miserable for her. She deserves even worse. F her. And that's a blue check marky person.
You
and that's
can't
not
keep your
fair.
blue check marky.
They shadow ban me. I have never said anything to anybody at all or about anybody.
Yeah.
Like in any sort of way. I just tweet things out and news. I don't do any personal attacks.
Now, Mike Pence is looking into the Google thing, which we didn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that might. I really do believe after the midterms, it should die down a little bit until because I think that the midterms are going to go the complete opposite that they are hoping. I think it's going to be far more damaging than they had imagined. I don't think that the Dems are going to take the House and the Senate.
And I do believe at least a handful of Trumpinian senators will get in there. At least a handful.
Yeah. And so I think that they're going to have to regroup after this and figure out, like, wait a minute, the censorship and all this money, it takes them a lot of money to pour into this censorship. They can't just keep bleeding like this if it's not working. I think they're going to end up trying a new tactic after the midterms, I think it's going to turn out to be, okay, now we have to go at voter fraud really, really hard. I think that's going to be their next tactic.
America's Day so far, F. Susan Collins, F. Brett Kavanaugh, F. Donald Trump. But this isn't over. If we take back the Senate in November, not going to happen. Kavanaugh will be removed. Not going to happen.
That red map, you should show that again.
Get behind every Democrat Senate candidate in every state. There are only 32 days to the elections. Now, what you have just done with this tweet, sir, is get every Republican out and to vote. And there are more red places than there are blue places. And so what's going to happen is where all the blue people live, they're just going to vote extra blue, and it's just going to be extra blue in the blue places.
All right, so I'm going to throw this to everyone again, like we did yesterday, Leah. If you want to redo what you did a little bit like yesterday, just in case there are people that are watching that didn't see it.
This is a completely red map.
Right.
And when you break down congressional districts and even Senate districts, what you're going to find is that you may have extra people voting blue, more blue in Colorado or in some coastal places in California, or even some of the major cities in every state. A little bit. You know, but what you're not going to have congressional districts, they're not broken up in a way that all of a sudden you're just going to suck in like all these extra blue Democrat votes. They're just going to be more concentrated.
Right.
In their particular areas because it's the cities and the coasts, but all of Middle America. And when you look at that map,
and we can look at this one as well.
Right. When you look at this map, you see that even when you're looking at the coastal, the states that went for Clinton. Right. What you find is within those states, they still have congressional districts that will go Republican. Mm-hmm. Okay, just because it's technically a blue state, there's people in a country, there's people in California. There are districts in California where people vote Republican. Right. There are
by and large, if you're looking at it at that map, you have to see how many people are convicted to vote Republican,
which is why you see a little bit more even split in Senate races, right? Because you have whole states and only 2 senators, and so you're going to have more votes concentrated from the cities. But when those congressional districts are not around a big city, then they vote Republican.
Right.
So that's why you always see Congress as usually more Republican.
Exactly.
And that's where you see in Congress, you see more Tea Party people, you see more Freedom Caucus people, you see more grassroots people, because it's much easier to get elected according to your district than it is half your state.
Now I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Go ahead on your
meltdowns. Left-wing agitator Kat Calvin, I don't know who this person is.
Blue check mark.
Never let Collins have a moment of peace in public again.
That's a threat.
Don't you think these people should have their blue check marks at least taken away? They should be shadow banned.
Yes, they should.
Another blue check mark person. It was a tough choice, but in the end, Susan Collins felt morally obliged to eviscerate the victims of sexual assault.
Wow.
And of course, nothing is complete without Alyssa Milano. Don't let this performance fool you. If Senator Collins believed in Me Too, she would have opened the door when I was in her office to hear stories of constituent survivors. Here's the thing. It doesn't... If you're trying to make some sort of legislation about sexual violence, then she would open her door to hear your stories of survivors. But their stories have nothing to do with Brett Kavanaugh. That's why it's all messed up.
It's craziness. Alyssa, you have to understand that there are women out there that make up stories about being raped. This has happened since I talked about yesterday, Potiphar's wife and Joseph. It just happens.
What do their stories have to do with Brett Kavanaugh?
That's what I'm saying.
So look at the Women's March. They put this out right afterwards. Susan Collins is a rape apologist.
No, she said that the burden of proof is on the accuser, and there wasn't enough information. There weren't enough facts to say that Kavanaugh was a rapist. And guess what, guys? Dr. Ford never even accused him of rape.
Right.
The woman that did doesn't even have any proof. She has a long history of false accusations. Her boyfriend had to get a restraining order against her because she's so crazy. Avenatti is her lawyer. All of those things. She had to be
fired from her job for sexual harassment herself.
Yeah, she was some floozy, and all the men at work were like, dude, this lady is too much.
So I want to put this out there because this came out this morning, and this went towards Grassley's letter that was released late last night to Christine Ford's lawyers. We never have, we haven't seen therapist notes. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, that second door was actually used for an office for that couples counselor to operate her business out of Ford's home. And McLeland, who was supposedly the woman who was training to be, or there's an ex-boyfriend of Ford who wrote a letter under penalty of perjury that listed all these things to refute Dr. Ford and said, I saw her help McLeland or whatever, how do I say it? Not Leland Kaiser, but help McLeland, Monica McLean.
Trained for a
polygraph
test.
Now
she was asked specifically by, what was her last name, Mitchell? If she had ever helped anybody. Mm-hmm. And that question is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did Mitchell already have that information?
I believe she had the boyfriend information.
That's fascinating to me. So Mitchell had to know, you just lied.
But get this.
Liar.
Leland Kaiser, the random girl who was supposedly there.
Yeah, her best, Ford's good long life.
Says she has no recollection of ever being at a party with Brett Kavanaugh and doesn't know him.
Mm-hmm.
She has now told the Wall Street Journal that it says Leland Kaiser, who Dr. Ford has said was present at the gathering where she was allegedly assaulted in the 1980s, told investigators that Monica McLean, the retired FBI Bureau investigation agent and friend of Dr. Ford's, had urged her to clarify her statement, people said, on Thursday, a day after sending to the White House the report on its investigation into the allegations against Judge Kavanaugh. The FBI sent the White House and sent an additional package of information that included text messages from Miss McLean to Miss Kaiser, according to a person familiar with the matter.
Now, that's McLean right there.
Right. The conservative treehouse reported on McLean and her attorney.
Here she is, right here.
A person with deep connections to the DOJ and the FBI, This is damning information against the deep state. She was there at the trial.
Mm-hmm.
She texted Leland Kaiser and said, they're using your refutation against this accusation as a right-wing talking point. We need you to clarify it. And she told investigators, she told the FBI that she felt pressured.
Was it the Wall Street Journal?
She told the FBI and the Wall Street Journal that she felt pressured by McLean to stand with Dr. Ford and make things up.
Wow.
So that is obviously illegal.
I like how Tim Smith reminds us, no, I never trained anybody on a polygraph, and polygraphs scare me. They scare me.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, right? Mm-hmm. So we saw her, Susan Collins, totally...
she did kind of lay the smackdown. Although, like Leah said, she pointed out all the reasons why Kavanaugh's not so bad.
Right,
because
exactly.
He is gonna pretty much not uphold the Constitution and allow case law to make law and whatnot. And so it's really okay, guys. Calm down. And so that's unfortunate. And that's why I started out the show by saying, let's hope that this lights a fire under Kavanaugh to stand with the Constitution, to realize that the Supreme Court is not meant to make law, and to stand with what we, the people who are supporting him, would want him to do.
So real time, guys, I want to go through a couple of these tweets to see to where people are at right now. Eric Erickson is a never Trumper, okay? He is a journalist and a never Trumper who yesterday came out and said, I am voting Trump 2020. What the Democrats have done is unite this whole right-wing people. I'm just done with it. I'm just done with the Democrats. I'm just done. So then he says, congrats, progressives. You so overplayed your hand that you fired up the Republican base, ticked off Susan Collins, and radicalized the newest justice on the United States Supreme Court, which is what we just talked about, right? Radicalizing him and what I said, red-pilled. Red-pilled.
Ron Mode on Facebook Live says, more right votes in California than that for sure.
Exactly. Charles Payne says Susan Collins is Spartacus.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
New York Magazine writer faults Senator Susan Collins for supporting the white capitalist patriarchy.
Oh my gosh.
To be clear, this is not letting Collins, 53% of white women in many generations of their forebears off the hook. And my new book is in part about WW's eagerness to support a white capitalist patriarchy, and in doing so, leave their sisters to suffer, which is what Susan Collins just did. Now, remember, now you've got George Bush calling people. This is a deep state guy. But what I really think is happening is he's not going to be. He's not going to be.
Yeah.
He can't be after this.
No
it's
way.
Absolutely hilarious. They literally, if they had just let him go through, you probably would have extra seats. You would definitely have extra seats on the Senate.
Right.
And you'd have a justice who was like, oh, it's a regular system. I'll just vote the way I normally do. Right. But now you're not going to get the Senate. You're not going to overturn the House. And you have literally red-pilled a justice. Thank you, radical left. You have literally given us a Christmas presents on our list we didn't even ask for.
So true.
We didn't ask for these. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. We should be thanking them.
Yes, thank you.
It was like they didn't even know they were giving us so many gifts.
Right.
They have taken away and censored the heck out of us. But in return, they're going to put Trump people in the Senate, which is what we want anyways, because then they can come back and censor Google, and we can get legislation to get our voices back. So all in all, we've made some sacrifices, okay? It's kind of like when you put your savings you put your savings away, and then all of a sudden you bring it back out. Our savings is we're going to stay the course, we're going to stay true, and they just handed us a new car
with
for Christmas.
Fervency.
Like,
they were digging a grave. I mean, every lib
we're watching them literally.
They're digging this grave, and they're like, "We're gonna put y'all in this grave. We're gonna put y'all in this grave." And now a whole lot of them are sitting in that grave, and they're taking their shovels and they're dumping dirt on their heads and they're burying themselves.
Like, what are you doing?
Okay, all right, y'all go on ahead.
It's absolutely hilarious. Susan Rice, though, she wanted Kavanaugh on there so badly. Former UN Ambassador Susan Rice suggested Friday afternoon that she would even challenge the incumbent Republican Susan Collins in 2020 following Collins' speech on the Senate floor explaining why she would vote to confirm Brett Kavanaugh. However, Rice walked back her announcements moments later as Collins began her speech shortly after 3. Suddenly, it looked as though Rice had thrown her hat in the ring, delighting leftists. Who wants to run for Senate in Maine? There will be an army of supporters with you. She says, me. Paging Senator Collins, this just from the Department of HE double hockey sticks to pay. Susan Collins might as well hang it up now. But Rice is most notorious for falsely blaming the 2012 Benghazi terror attacks on an anti-Islamic YouTube video, which she and others claimed had provoked a protest, even though Obama administration knew otherwise.
I don't think that it was Susan
actually
Rice coming out
Condoleezza Rice.
Oh, thank you.
Condoleezza Rice.
Okay, you
sorry.
said Susan Rice.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I don't think that it was the threat of Condoleezza Rice possibly running against her that made her change.
No. This is Susan Rice.
Okay, good.
Susan Rice is Obama.
Right.
Condoleezza Rice called and trying to get her to vote. I got her mixed up.
Thank you. Because I was really getting confused there.
I know.
I was going with you, though.
Thank you.
Okay. I back and support Leah 110%. No, I will call her out. When I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, I was waiting to figure it out.
Susan Collins condones rape. You're seeing that over and over again. So I just want to take a second and just make sure there's no awesome videos. I think there is. This is Mike Cernovich. All in all, I am neutral on the Kavanaugh stuff. Some pros and cons for me. Kavanaugh is bad on the Fourth Amendment. I don't like the Bush people are being rewarded by Trump while Make America Great shut out. GOP basics dealing with harassment and threats I face was usual, and he goes back and forth. So I can see it, but this was bigger than putting somebody on the Supreme Court. And that's why it was so important for him to be okay. Here's hilariousness. The protesters, they do this thing. Never ever follow people who ask you to randomly chant things like as a group. You know,
it's
like
embarrassing.
It's embarrassing because she's literally giving directions.
Cloture. In 30 minutes. Meet me to the left.
They're voting on closure in 30 minutes. Meet me to the left. This is not even like down with.
Did you hear the way that they said that? They are voting on closure in 30.
Cloture.
Cloture. What is that?
It's cloture.
Cloture. I don't even know what that is. Whatever they're voting on, but the way that they said it was so eerie, like some sort of bad movie. It's not even like, "Hey, rah rah." Kick them in the head.
Yeah, it's not a positive chant. It's literally directions. It's weird.
If you would like to go to an office, to spend time with your senator, go to that office.
Doesn't make sense. Why won't you just give the directions? I mean, like, I've never seen.
Why
like,
are
this
we
weird...
repeating it in some weird chanting type monotone voice? That's really creepy.
It's embarrassing. It's more than creepy. It's quite embarrassing.
All right, so there are never any questions on resistance, chicks, that are not worth answering. Okay? Mm-hmm. Shield Maiden says, girls, Congress is a nominated position by the president, ? And the Senate is elected by us. If so, please, can you explain? No. Both the Congress and the Senate are voted on by the people. It is the justice that we're talking about right now, Brett Kavanaugh, on the Supreme Court, who is nominated by the president. I just wanted to clarify that. We vote on the Congress, we vote on congressmen, congresswomen, and senators, and then the president nominates someone, and then they vote whether they're going to confirm the president's nomination.
Each state has 2 senators, and then congressional districts are divided based on population. So watch this. This is a white guy trying to lead a chant for women here.
Let's go watch the vote. Let's go watch the vote. In offices that you wish to communicate with. In offices that you wish to communicate with. I am going to go to Heidi Heitkamp's office. I'm going to go to Heidi Heitkamp's office. Why? She's on our side. And after the vote.
It's embarrassing. Like, why don't these people just talk to them? This is a weird brainwashing. These people don't even know how to respond.
Well, it's kind
to
of
a conversation.
Okay.
You can go to any office. I'm going to go to Heidi Heitkamp's office. And then this other person's like, why? She's on our side. It's so weird. Like, why would you report? Like, I'm going to brush my hair. I'm going to brush my hair. Like,
but
it's
they're not
so
even
weird.
saying it that way. They're saying, I'm going to brush my hair.
It's
childish.
Weird.
They're literally saying, I'm not sure that you're going to get this unless you repeat it back to me. So it's repeat after me. These are the directions I'm giving you. Oh my gosh. Martin Wood says bizarro world. Got that right.
It's so bizarre. Now here we're literally seeing Thug Life Lindsey Graham.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Please move to South Carolina.
She says, I'm going to vote you out of office, white patriarchy. And she says, please, he says, please move to South Carolina. Because that's where he's
you come. You'd be welcome in South Carolina.
Believe your mother, believe your sisters. He lied under oath. You have Lindsay, he lied under oath. He lied under oath. He didn't drink. He didn't black out. There aren't 40 people you have not interviewed.
It's embarrassing.
I don't. Listen, I'm a reporter. I cover what's going on the Hill. I just cover what's going on. I'm not trying to.
They're literally like, it kind of reminds me of
Screeching banshees.
The Hulk, right? Somehow the Hulk is able to use restraint and not kill the good guys. Hopefully, okay? But these women can't differentiate between somebody that's just an innocent bystander. They are just all out, full loaded to go out and just eat anything that they see. Anything, wipe out anything in their path. You're a man, you must be bad. I mean,
another blue check mark. This shows you that Twitter has become a violent place for leftists. And I think that's kind of like a theme here tonight.
Yeah.
Is how violent the left has become. I'm going to show you another video breaking that down on Fox News. Another blue checkmarky person.
Here they come with the blue checkmarks.
I am starting a national Dem Socialist working group. Remember, Democratic Socialists are the commies. They believe in communism. To follow Jeff Flake around to every restaurant, cafe, store, etc. he goes for the rest of his life and yell at him.
Okay, Annie Shields.
But Alex Jones confronted a reporter who wrote a horrible article about him, and he was taken off of Twitter like that.
So here these people are talking about literal harassment that would require restraining orders against all of these people. Y'all going to go to jail, and you still get to keep your blue check mark, probably from jail.
So here's a question. Why would anyone change their vote because of these people?
That's a good question.
I don't even know what they're saying.
I think it's resist and meet him ham, and that's what we need in Trump. Resist the something something and something 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 Trump. No. The system is corrupt. And that's why we distrust.
Disrupt. I think it's disrupt, don't you?
Man, it's like a game. Okay, that's a little loud. All right, I get it. Hey, at least these people got a little bit more enthusiasm. Okay, I mean, that lady in the front was really on it. The system is corrupt, and that's why we distrust. And you know what? That's our line. That's what we said in the beginning. That's what we said when Obama was president. That's what we've said about the globalist. The system is corrupt, and that's why we distrust, and that's why Trump is now president.
But they said disrupt.
Disrupt whatever. I want to say distrust.
We distrust. We don't disrupt.
Okay, well, that's why we distrust, and you can disrupt, and that's fine. But seriously, they're trying to say that the system, we're talking about a dude that hasn't even been in office for 2 years. He's not part of the system. The people that you are supporting have been part of the system since December 23rd, 1913. And for the first time in 100 years, we have a change.
I want to show you these
outside
women.
Of the system.
This is Rand Paul with the Women for Kavanaugh. And he says, enjoyed meeting the incredible group of kind and friendly women for Kavanaugh. What a difference from the other violent protesters we've seen around here.
Oh, look at that genuine smile on his face.
Happy, peaceful people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, seriously. I'm going to take a break in the midst of the Kavanaugh stuff to show you.
Okay.
Our First Lady has been traveling around Africa.
Hang on. Lori says their only platform is to kill babies on Facebook. Thank you, Lori. You're right.
So here we have our FLOTUS dancing.
Our FLOTUS.
With little African
children. Stop it.
Just make your day a little bit happier.
Look at her. I have to tell you, I love our First Lady.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I like our First Lady more than I like the president. I really, really love cool. Melania Trump.
By the way, that hairstylist who kicked the phone out of the person.
Oh, he was a hairstylist? Because I couldn't tell by his hair.
Well, he's been fired.
Okay, that's good.
He has been fired. So this is an ad. This person is probably not going to, I don't know if he's got enough votes, but this is a challenger for this guy here. A challenger to Mr. White House.
I don't know if it's buffed or boofed. How do you pronounce that?
That refers to flatulence. We were 16.
Okay.
We want to talk about flatulence at age 16 on a yearbook page. I'm game.
With all the world watching, Senator Whitehouse asks about flatulence. What an embarrassment for Rhode Island. Let's elect a problem solver, not a gas bag.
I'm about to approve this message.
Oh my gosh. No.
It just gets better and better. Like, the Democrats walk right into this stuff. Like, literally.
They walk into a pile of... They do. Oh my goodness. Wow. That was really great.
So,
who came Senator, up with that? Gets a cookie.
Senator Lindsey Graham forces Fox News to get the bleeper out.
If that's an investigation, it's a bull investigation. The reality is that is not a full and thorough investigation.
It's not full, it's not thorough. They didn't interview Kavanaugh, Ford, or Deborah Ramirez's second cousin twice removed.
To my good friends, this is advising consent. This is your view of the Senate's role, is to take a good man's life, turn it upside down, betray Dr. Ford's trust, do everything in the world to destroy him, to hold the seat open past the midterms. That's not advising consent. That's despicable. It's going to blow up in your face. I hope it does, because it was wrong. He's going to get on the court. They have no idea what the FBI supplemental investigation was about. They made up their mind to vote no before anybody said hello. So here's what the three senators asked for. That the people named by Dr. Ford be interviewed by the FBI, just not the committee, and Ms. Ramirez be interviewed by the FBI. That was done, plus five other witnesses. The results are in. Senator Collins and Senator Flake said they thought it was thorough, they thought it was fair, and these two people who are my friends have no idea what they're talking about. And let me tell to my friend Bob, what y'all have done is bull.
Senator Schumer
talked about... Oh my goodness, Lindsey Graham. We're talking about the guy that says what they done. He doesn't even care that his accent proves that he sounds sometimes ignorant, and then he pulling out the bleeper. You sound like, I love him. I really do. I know that Lindsey Graham has historically not been awesome. I love the new, like Ben Shapiro says, the 2.0 software download on Lindsey Graham. Gotta tell you.
The Lindsey Graham minus McKay. Now here is the women accosting Rand Paul in the airport.
Tell them how you're going to vote. Tell them whether or not you'll support a real investigation. Women across America deserve to know your stance on this issue. What do you want to do? If you don't want to chase you, we don't want to run after you, we want to have a conversation with you. We deserve to have a conversation with you since you're a senior. You represent us.
Well, but does he represent them? Are they from his constituency?
Your behavior.
Are they from Kentucky? Y'all people from Kentucky?
You're complicit in sexual violence.
You know, that's the second time. Lindsey Graham had to explain to those people following him, you can move to South Carolina. For some reason, people just do not understand that these representatives that go to the Congress, go to the Senate, represent the people from their state. They do not represent all American people. If they go onto the world stage, if they are an ambassador, then yes, they represent all American people. Their job is strictly to represent the people that live in their state.
Speaking of that, this is a woman
Why is it so hard to
from Maine on why she wanted Collins to vote for Kavanaugh.
These Republican voters, like we have Terry Morris here. Terry, you are a registered Republican, correct?
I am.
And did you vote for Senator Collins?
I did.
How do you want her to vote today?
Yes.
You want her to say yes. Why?
Because I think that Brett Kavanaugh has been unjustly accused of these things. I don't know why Christine Ford made the allegations that she did. She may have some other problems or reasons, I don't know.
But you say overwhelmingly yes to Kavanaugh. And
yes.
As a woman, you've seen all these other women protesting in Senator Collins' office. Does that affect you at all, seeing them say, do not put this man on the bench?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have to tell you first, my mother was a foster child and was abused in the system. And I understand where they're coming from. However, I think that a reaction that has been fueled by money from the George Soros campaign, from Nancy Pelosi, and from other Democratic...
you don't believe them?
I don't believe all of them. I'm sure that it happened to some people, but I don't believe all of them now. I think a lot of it's political expediency.
So then let me ask you this. If, in fact, Senator Collins votes no on Brett Kavanaugh, will you still support her?
I think I probably would, because I think that she's a fair person. I won't agree with her, but I think that she's a fair person. And I think that ultimately she will support him, because none of these allegations have any proof behind them whatsoever.
You're not buying it?
I'm not buying it at all. No. I mean, I don't think a person's life should be ruined just for political expediency. No.
Well, you saw that he wrote his own op-ed, and in it he said he regretted doing some of the things that he did. Did that have any effect on you?
He regretted some of the things that he said when he answered, and I don't blame him for being upset. His family's been attacked, his children have been attacked, he's been attacked unmercifully, and apparently with no corroboration of the allegations. So I would be pretty ticked off myself. Matter of fact, I think he was pretty circumspect in his. I don't blame him for the way he behaved.
So that is the way I think most people feel. And
can we keep in mind that whenever a president nominates somebody for the Supreme Court, by and large, the senators and the congressmen are supposed to it's supposed to be kind of bipartisan. All right, the president nominated this person. Do we have any reason, outside of the fact that we may not agree with their political leaning, to say that this person will not abide by the Constitution?
Right.
That's all they are supposed to do. And so historically, we have seen Republicans put their partisan aside and vote in justices that they would hate. Okay, so it's not supposed to be a vote like, I like this person, I don't like this person, I would like them to be a justice, I would not like them to be a justice. And that's not the vote.
It should be about competency.
Yes.
Now, you would think that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has memorized the Constitution. It's not that long. We've read it several times.
Yes. Is she going to fall asleep again?
Well, while speaking at the National Women's Party in August, an audience member had to give Ruth Bader Ginsburg a copy of the Constitution because she lost hers and couldn't remember what the 14th Amendment said.
A few articles over the years about the need for the ERA, and one is reprinted in my own words. And you've, of course, noted that the ERA would give the Supreme Court a more secure handle in its support for equality. But as you mentioned, as both a litigator and in your time on the court, you've actually built precedent in that area. So could you explain why you believe that the ERA is still as needed today as it ever was?
Do I have my, do you have my purse? Let me see if I have my pocket constitution. There's a problem with the 14th Amendment. Let's see if I have my pocket constitution. I hope.
She's got her pocket constitution.
Someone has one? Okay, why don't you pass it to me? Good. Okay. The problem with the text of the 14th Amendment is the second section. The first section is fine. But then the first section includes the Equal Protection Clause, and nor shall any state deny to any person the equal protection of the laws. But the second section, which was meant to deal with states that did not allow African American men to vote, and it uses, for the first time, the word male is.
I think she needs to step down.
All right.
Doesn't she seem a little bit like out of?
Was nominated in 1993. So she's been there for 25 years. Now, I don't know how many cases have come before her desk, but I'm going to guess a lot. Now, like Leah said, it's called a pocket constitution for a reason because it's small enough to fit in your pocket. I know Hollywood actors that have memorized lines far more extensive than the pocket constitution from start to finish. So the fact that she couldn't remember what was in the 14th Amendment to reiterate it, just kind of explaining it, is a problem. Remember, Ruth, you're supposed to interpret you're not only just supposed to know the 14th Amendment, you are supposed to know original intent. You are supposed to know the people that created the Constitution, that wrote it, what they meant, what their lives were like. Okay? And I'm not going to answer this phone call because I don't know who it is. That's what you are supposed to do. So if you don't even know the 14th Amendment, you don't know the men and the women that helped put our Constitution and framed it, then you shouldn't be there. And so, yeah, when people keep saying this is a lifetime appointment, it should be taken very seriously. Do you know how many people in the Senate voted for Ruth Bader Ginsburg? What was her percentage? It was like 82?
96.
I mean, come on. These are people that put their bias aside and said, all right, she's competent. Well, guess what? They were wrong because she is not competent. Right. Oh, my gosh.
All right. So we're talking about violence here, and I was trying to find my articles. I want to talk about Rand Paul's thing I told you I was going to talk about yesterday about his bill that would stop pedophilia in Afghanistan. But this is the I think it's a segment on Fox News where they have one guy in the middle and 4 girls. But when talking about the violence on the left, it's all on the left. And I want to play this clip for you.
Boy, that is something that my community would call chutzpah. For Chuck Grassley to stand up and say we are shocked that there's gambling going on here. The Republican Party, as we just talked about, held open a Supreme Court judgeship for a year.
Okay, now there is something completely different. If the left had just used procedural matters to stop Judge Kavanaugh, they didn't do that. They lied. They manipulated. They cheated. They smeared. Totally different.
Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas, held up a nomination from President Obama for 2 years until she literally died.
That is not the same thing as the threats and the hysteria and the character assassination that has gone on this week. I mean, I completely grant your point. What happened with Merrick Garland was completely political. All of this is political, but you know the tone that's going on right now. And frankly, what feels like being on the verge of violence and what's been done to this man and his family, God forbid these things aren't true. You know, I mean, it really has, you have to admit, it has reached a new level.
It's reached a very damaging level, but we've sort of seen this coming for a while. I don't think that this is a new
development. Doesn't make it okay. Did you read Rand Paul's wife? The op-ed that she wrote about stopping the violence and how her husband was attacked and almost killed and how he's had pneumonia 5 times. You know, have you considered Steve Scalise and the number of other Republican lawmakers who were almost gunned down in cold blood by a maniac, or the Republican Senate candidate in Northern California who was stabbed? We're not talking about theoretical violence. We're not talking about violent words or violent threats. We're talking about action. And then you have people like Cory Booker and Maxine Waters and their call to action of getting up in people's faces and gathering a crowd and shouting people down. Those aren't theoretical. Those are actual things that lead to violence in the society, and that is not okay. There's a big difference between
you have the President of the United States, telling people to rough up protesters in the audience. This is not one party or the other. This is a really serious issue.
That long laundry list of things, those are all, unfortunately, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, but unfortunately, those are instances of Republicans.
Get in and then Lisa.
Sorry.
The idea that there is some kind of democratic violent plot against Republicans is not only wrong, it is really shameful. And what we're talking about now, though, is a Senate confirmation of a Supreme Court justice. That should be a rigorous process.
For someone to get in someone's face.
You've had senators on Capitol Hill that have had to have police escorts this week because the level of death threats and violence against them, people that do not support Judge Kavanaugh, and you have had the Democrat Party. And how disgraceful that somehow this is vengeance to try to ruin a man's life based off of nothing.
Coming back to vengeance, but that's not what's going on here. That's not what's going on here. If we were talking about Merrick Garland, this would have been Neil Gorsuch.
Guys,
it's pretty awesome. I think those women were pretty awesome, actually. Okay, Rand Paul's wife, an open letter to Cory Booker. We talked to you about this. Our family is facing horrific threats. We talked about this last night, but we didn't actually read it. She says, I now keep a loaded gun by my bed. Our security systems have been expanded. I have never felt this way in my life. In the last 18 months, our family has experienced violence and threats of violence at a horrifying level. I will never forget the morning of the shooting at the congressional baseball practice. The pure relief and gratitude that flooded me when I realized that Rand was okay. He was not okay last November when a violent and unstable man attacked him from behind while he was working in our yard.
He tackled him,
breaking 6 ribs and leaving him with lung damage and multiple bouts of pneumonia.
Pneumonia can kill you, by the way.
Mrs. Paul cited examples of Democrats making light of threats her family has faced, including Kentucky Secretary of State Allison Lundergan Grimes, who joked about the attack in a speech, and celebrities such as Sharon Bette Midler, who expressed support for his attacker. I hope these women never have to watch someone they love struggle to move or even breathe.
So I had a cracked rib right here when I was 18, I think, and it still bothers me every once in a while to this day. I'm telling you, it's painful. It's very, very painful.
It is.
It lasts forever.
Okay. So I think I want to get to we're gonna play something fun for in a little bit, but Rand Paul's wife actually I think had an interview, and I thought I had that up, and I'm not sure if I have it or not. Here we go.
Amber said, his wife touched my heart and then they acted like she was overreacting. No overreacting.
As the doxing, protests, and overall incivility heat up here in Washington and beyond, some are focusing on comments from prominent Democrats like Cory Booker earlier this summer.
That's my call to action here. Please don't just come here today and then go home. Go to the Hill today. Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Republican Senator Rand Paul's wife, who remembers well the attack on her husband last year, has sent an open letter to Senator Booker and to others. She's asking him to walk back those comments. She says, quote, I now keep a loaded gun by my bed. In the last 18 months, our family's experienced violence and threats of violence at a horrifying level. Kelly Paul joins us now to talk about that. Welcome, Kelly. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
What made you at this point reach out and do the letter because we all remember your husband was at the shooting last year that almost killed Congressman Scalise. Yes. He was personally attacked, 6 ribs broken, serious lung damage. People don't even understand, I think, the extent of his injuries. And where are we at now for you guys as far as day-to-day existence?
You know, I was really motivated to write the letter just from the incredible activities I've watched the last week. I mean, seeing Heidi and Ted Cruz forced out of the restaurant in D.C. last week, and people in their face, you know, waving their middle finger, getting in their face, not allowing them to even eat their meal. And then when our home address in Bowling Green, Kentucky was released on the internet and Rand's personal cell phone was released, you know, I felt incredibly threatened and frightened. I had been frightened when Rand left for D.C. that Monday because, you know, the new message is get up in their face, get in people's face. And I don't think people realize just how threatening that feels, how violated you feel when someone invades your personal space like that.
Can you pause it right there? Doesn't help. I don't think that when you hear it, it's enough for, if you really need to stop and imagine what it is like for someone to get up in your face, in your personal space. Imagine you're walking down the road and some random person, even if you're a man and it's a woman, gets all up in your face so that you can smell their breath, you can feel the heat of their breath, their spit or whatever. That's harassment. You can't encourage, Cory Booker cannot encourage people to get up in people's faces. If we just say get up in someone's face, you're not actually imagining what it is like, and I can't do it to Leah because she'll like have a conniption fit, what it is like to have someone in your personal space that you didn't invite to be there. This is horrible. Carry on.
To move the discourse along or change any hearts and minds. But the night I wrote that, I was sitting in my house and I saw the sheriff's car go by my house really slowly, and I was grateful for it. I was grateful for their, you know, continued surveillance of our home. But I just felt so sad. It was like, how did we get here?
Got to that point. I want to read something from Jeff Gertz, who's a spokesman for Senator Booker. He thinks that clip that a lot of people...
It's enough for these women to be afraid that other women are going to come and try to have affairs with their husbands. Now it's like they're going to kill them.
I know.
So it's like really...
...people have seen is taken out of context. He says, Senator Booker actually says to a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to ending homelessness to get up in the face of some congresspeople and tell them about common sense solutions that address that problem. And he said, I don't want to hate anybody because I know the truth. Gertz went on to say, to think Senator Booker somehow urging violent confrontation with these words requires you to ignore all context.
I don't think you can take out of context, get up in their faces.
Democrats and Republicans alike, now many of them choosing to walk with police escorts because we've seen the hallways, the threats, people in their faces. This is happening on both sides of the aisle. How does it change? What would you like to see?
You know, one of the reasons that I addressed my letter to Senator Booker is because he and Rand have worked together in a bipartisan way on criminal justice reform, which is an issue that I feel really passionately about. And I've been very involved with a group called Justice Action Network. And we are pushing for the First Step Act. This is something that I think we could actually get passed in a bipartisan way. And I was preparing to come to D.C. for a conference at Microsoft tomorrow. And I started thinking, you know, the world is so polarized right now up here that I fear that we will never be able to move forward on any of these issues. And words do matter, and perhaps he didn't mean it in such an aggressive way, but when you are the recipient of people getting up in your face, it does feel extremely personal. And certainly from our perspective, since Rand has been shot at and physically attacked in the last year, and then on the heels of our personal home address being released, I felt extremely vulnerable and I felt extremely threatened. And I hope that we can move beyond this. Whatever happens, you know, with the confirmation, I do hope that we can move beyond this.
I'm sorry, Kelly, it's not going to happen. It's like Amber said earlier, if he gets confirmed and the midterms don't go the way that they want, it's full-on war on their side. The left, we say they're unhinged right now. I don't think there's a word for what they will be after the midterms.
Right. I hate to really switch veins because we have a lot. But I think we covered this.
A lot.
I'm going to switch veins because we're still talking about Rand Paul. But we're talking about the legislation. We're going to go along with Kelly Paul, whatever, and say that there are other issues that could be bipartisan that should be talked about.
Yes.
And this is one of them. Rand Paul put forth legislation that would literally have ended the Baka Boy practice in any Afghanistan troops that our troops work with, and using child soldiers. And Corker and Menendez scuttle Rand Paul efforts to block billions in U.S. funding for Afghan forces sexually abusing little boys.
So somehow, what happened to Dr. Ford, which was not even a rape, probably never happened, but let's just say hypothetically it did. Mm-hmm. What happened to her is far more important than the fact that we as the United States are funding troops in Afghanistan that keep little boys, scroll it back up, as their sex slaves. And that's fine. And y'all people don't care about that. You only care about something that supposedly, possibly happened to Dr. Ford that wasn't even a rape over 30 years ago.
This goes to show the racism.
It makes me so angry.
She's white and upper class. And so what has happened is that these middle class women look at her in their 50s, they say, that's me.
That's me.
That could be me.
But who cares about a little Afghanistan boy?
They're so racist. Rand Paul last week tried to block billions in U.S. taxpayer funds from going to the Afghan military and police forces unless its units stopped sexually abusing young boys.
Unbelievable. That's so
Shouldn't that be bipartisan?
Cut and dry. Yes. Yes.
But he was opposed by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee leaders.
Fire anybody that opposed him.
Here's the thing. I could see those women getting up in their face and say, you are a rape apologist.
Yes.
You believe in pedophilia.
Why can't we get news like this out? It bothers me. I'm so glad you all are here. But it frustrates me that our voice has been so stifled that something as plain as this, we can't get it out. They have silenced us.
During a committee business meeting last Wednesday, considering the reauthorization of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000, Paul proposed an amendment to withhold all U.S. funding for all Afghan security forces unless the U.S. government's watchdog in Afghanistan could verify that those forces were not using children as child soldiers or sex slaves. That should be very simple and very easy. The U.S. is slated to provide Afghan security forces and military police with $4.92 billion in 2019 alone for equipment, training, supplies, services, infrastructure repair, and other funding. Paul told other members, according to a transcript of the business meeting first obtained by Breitbart News, I think that the committee is right to be gravely concerned with sexual trafficking and abuse of young people around the world in a variety of countries. I think we shouldn't turn a blind eye toward when our allies are responsible for this as well. Specifically, Paul referred to the common Afghan practice of baka boys, or using boys as young as 10 years old for sex. Some U.S. troops who have deployed to Afghanistan have tried to stop instances of sexual abuse when they came across it, but have been punished for doing so. He brought up the case of the former Army Special Forces Captain Dan Quinn, who beat up an Afghan commander for keeping an approximately 10-year-old boy chained to his bed as a sex slave and beating up his mother when she tried to rescue him. Quinn was relieved of command as a result.
Should have been given a medal, that guy.
His complaint was, wouldn't it be the same as taking somebody from a burning building? His complaint was, we're putting people into power who could do things even far worse than the Taliban did, and that these views were expressed to him as he traveled throughout Afghanistan, Paul said. My amendment would say no Afghan entity is allowed to receive funds from the U.S. until the Special Inspector General, the SIGAR, verifies that there are no child soldiers or sex slaves, commonly known as bakabazi, being utilized by any individual or unit within the department. However, Chairman Bob Corker from Tennessee and the ranking member Bob Menendez, a Democrat from New Jersey, backed a counter amendment to require the Department of Defense and State to report on implementation of recommendations made by the SIGAR on ending the practice. Corker said that he had major concerns with Paul's approach, calling it unachievable. While I enthusiastically support the spirit of Senator Paul's amendment and understand what he's trying to do, I have major concerns with the approach his amendment takes. It would guarantee the withdrawal of U.S. support for Afghanistan by setting an unachievable standard requiring the SIGAR verification that there are 0 cases of sexual slavery or the utilization of child soldiers by any unit or even individual. It's just one guy having one kid being a sex slave within the Afghan military or police forces. Corker added that such a withdrawal of U.S. support would be problematic from a broad U.S. national security standpoint and eliminate the U.S. ability to try to end the practice. Paul argued that blocking U.S. funds would provide some punishment for the practice and have some effect.
I really don't have words.
Requiring a report would have no effect. Having a report on this will have no effect, and I think essentially turns a blind eye to the horrific practice that's going on there. I think many of us here would say we should have 0 tolerance for having sex slaves. We can't have 0 tolerance. We can't have 0 tolerance for sex slaves? Sure, we should. And if there's evidence of it, they shouldn't be getting any of our money. And so I absolutely think that we need a stronger version of it, and that the second degree would gut it and make it meaningless, and in essence show tactic support for allowing the practice to continue, he said. Paul's amendment failed while Corker's passed. The current Leahy law already requires U.S. military aid to be cut off to any foreign military unit implicated in gross human rights violations, which includes Bakabazi. But another U.S. law states the military aid should be provided to Afghanistan, notwithstanding any other provision or law that is evading this whole aid cutoff. Quinn is not the only former service member who has been punished for trying to stop the instances of Bakabazi they encountered. His fellow Army Green Beret Sergeant First Class Charles Martland was nearly discharged for participating in the beating of the commander. In 2015, the New York Times article told the story of Marine Lance Corporal Gregory Buckley Jr., who told his father he was instructed to look the other way. He was later killed by one of a group of boys living in barracks with an Afghan police commander, 1 floor below where the Marines slept. Another Marine, Major Jason Bresler, who had known of the Afghan commander from a previous deployment, was punished for nearly discharged for trying to warn a Marine unit about him by emailing them a classified report on the Afghan commander to fellow Marines over his personal email.
So, am I mistaken? Hasn't there been talk about pulling out of Afghanistan for years and years and years? Got to get out of Afghanistan. We're spending too much time in Afghanistan. We're not achieving anything in Afghanistan. All right, I've been hearing about this. It feels like the majority of my life. This would be a good way to get out of Afghanistan, because if you can't prove, then you pull the funds. If you can't prove that and I don't even think that it was that. It's not that you have to prove that this isn't happening. There just has to be 0 evidence of it, which actually isn't unachievable. They would get by and hide it, but it would lessen it. Okay? There just has to be no evidence, meaning a guy like that soldier wouldn't have to see stuff like that. Our soldiers should not be confronted with having to look the other way. You want to talk about PTSD? Imagine what it does to your psyche to see a little boy sexually abused and for you not to be able to do anything about it. It lessens the efficacy of our soldiers overseas.
Literally saying, I see somebody on fire and I can't put water on them. Yeah. I'm literally not allowed. You can't
tell people
to not defend child molestation.
I'm so angry right now. It's calling on God's justice, because that's why we have the appeal to heaven flag. Our founding fathers had it as well, because there are some things that are beyond what we can do.
Why isn't the left up in arms about this?
And you have to appeal to God for justice in these cases.
So while we're so frustrated, let's go to Melania Trump feeding a baby elephant in Kenya.
Thank you.
First Lady Melania Trump made a stop along her African tour at an elephant orphanage in Kenya, where she pet baby elephants and fed them from large bottles.
Oh my gosh.
She also visited the site of an ivory burn. The David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, which is in the Nairobi National Park, has raised over 230 orphaned baby elephants and staffs over 60 Kenyans as elephant keepers. Here she is, Melania Trump, petting a baby elephant. Now, this is what you needed today.
And she is so dressed for the occasion, by the way, with her tall boots.
She almost gets totally knocked over by baby elephant, but we're fine. We're fine here.
Isn't she adorable?
Oh my gosh.
And she took it. Jay says she almost got stepped on, but she didn't, and she took it in stride.
And this is ash from the ivory burns, a conservationist effort meant to discourage the ivory trade. Most recent burn was 2016.
Wow.
She said it's sad to see.
Wow.
It is sad.
That is really heartbreaking.
What else do we have? So this keeps coming up. So Carpe Dunctum is constantly making these meme things,
and they're great.
So we're gonna play this one
because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And if we turn against each other based on divisions of race, if somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, "Well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal." Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is,
we are going to enforce all trade violations against any country that cheats.
Good luck with that.
I said I'll need to renegotiate or I'll terminate. So they asked me to renegotiate. I will, and I think we'll be successful in the renegotiation. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism. The nation state remains the true foundation for happiness and harmony. I am skeptical of international unions that tie us up and bring America down.
What are you going to do? There's no answer to it.
Remember the magic wand? What you gonna get, a magic wand? Yeah, I got a magic wand. Get him out of here. Get him out. Go home to mommy. Go home. Bye. Go home to mommy. Bye-bye. Yeah, I got a magic wand. I think I have two.
Oh my gosh. I think I have two, he said.
It's my great honor to announce that we have successfully completed negotiations on a brand new deal to terminate and replace NAFTA. So we have negotiated this new agreement based on the principle of fairness and reciprocity, because we've been treated so unfairly by so many nations all over the world, and we're changing that.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Carpe Dunctum. I hope we're saying that right. Dunctum. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, because that was fantastic.
So we have another video because we're gonna play some songs, and we're moving on from some harsh news onto some funny stuff, because that last one with Rand Paul is really hard to cover, and we actually, we have videos where we've really covered the Baka Boys.
Oh yeah,
look
if I have time tonight, I will try to grab some of those videos where we have done that and put it in the description, because a lot of you guys haven't seen older videos that we did last year where we covered in depth things like the Baka Boys, the Federal Reserve,
right,
IG Farben, stuff like that.
Right. So I wanted to see if this was back on.
While you're looking for that, let me remind you guys, you can go to our videos on our page on YouTube, on Mass Fade 3 and on Resistance
We're
Chicks.
going to see some more
Hang on a
pictures
second.
on the Safari.
And you can enter search criteria. So have Leah and Michelle covered XYZ, put it in the search, see what videos come up. We have done a lot of videos.
I want to be her right now.
Oh my gosh, she's
with the
so
hat.
cute.
She's on Safari, like with the hat. Like she looks like, it's not fair. We wouldn't look like her like that.
Well,
like,
when you marry a supermodel and become president,
then you can do this, and you literally are a supermodel in Africa. Like that's embarrassingly cute.
She's adorable.
She's taking pictures. This is hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Melania Trump on the
so
Safari. I think she's taken everybody by storm, by the way. They just don't know what to do with her because she's so
perfect,
likable, and they just, and she's kind
There's nothing they're going to be able to uncover about Melania Trump.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah, they try.
It's never going to happen.
So I'm trying to find the article.
She speaks how many languages?
5.
5?
Yeah. I'm trying to find the article, but I don't think I'm going to find it, so I'm just going to play this video. This particular video was taken off of Facebook for hate speech. It has since been put back on Facebook. Now, it is... why don't you bring it up so people can watch it there? It's in my history. It's called The Fireman. Yeah.
Okay.
And it is a parody of what's happening right now in with what the mainstream media does to conservatives.
They keep pulling our subscribers. Oh my gosh, we were well over. They have pulled so many subs. Every time I log on here, I see how many subs they've pulled. I'm sorry.
Michelle showed.
Oh, did I show y'all people? I don't even think I showed them that. I'm gonna show them that before we signed off. All right, history. Let me get here. All right, the firemen.
The firefighters worked tirelessly to tackle the...
Oh, I haven't given it to them yet.
Give it to them so they can see.
There we go.
And then make it big.
Blaze that engulfed an entire 3-story townhome in West Philadelphia. The family of 4 was saved thanks to the efforts of one firefighter, Shane McGillis. Shane, you fought this fire for 3 hours.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal up there.
Can you confirm this is you?
Yeah, that's this is...
We have an unnamed source claiming you may in fact be a white supremacist.
So I'm not a white supremacist. I just saved an entire family up there, and not that it matters at all, but those were Mexicans.
The family was in fact Guatemalan.
Well, I didn't go to college, so.
Are you saying on the record that all Hispanics look the same?
What's this? What are you doing?
Let's see some more footage.
Oh, dude, I love Trump. I love Donald Trump so much, dude. What the f***?
Was this you last night?
Are we not talking about the fire?
This is about whether or not you were fit to be fighting fire the night after a bender.
I was not on a bender.
Breaking news, folks. Was a local conservative firefighter too intoxicated to be doing his job?
There's no break.
We now have Shane's best friend Barry on the line.
Ah, Jesus Christ, they got Barry?
Holy shit, am I on TV?
Barry shared a screenshot of your text with him last night. At 1:13 a.m. you texted him, "Y'all want to get pancakes."
What the f***, Barry?
They told me they were the FBI.
Why would they be the FBI?
I don't know, man. I'm still drunk.
At 2:15 a.m., escorts in my area.
Oh, see, I know what happened. Shane thought he was on Google, but he was actually still texting
Barry,
me.
shut the f*** up.
All right, no problem.
Jesus Christ, Barry. Oh, this is a guy.
He saved my family.
Yeah, I saved his entire family up there.
Excuse me, sir. Are you aware that this man is a known racist?
That's not true. That's not true. No true-o.
More on this developing story about the racist firefighter who touched Guatemalan children in their home after breaking down their door with an axe.
Say it like that?
Where was he when the fire started? Surely not at his home at 12407 Apple Blossom Lane in Haverford, zip code 92406.
Don't put that on the screen. Don't put that on the...
We're getting word right now that Fire Chief Brian Connolly will be here shortly to have a press conference about this racist firefighter.
Oh, hey, Chief.
Hey, pal. Hey, great job up there.
Thank you very much, sir.
We decided to terminate firefighter Shane McGillis. This department has a zero-tolerance policy on intolerance, and this is going to go into effect immediately. All right? All right, let's get back to this Puerto Rican flame.
So that's not you.
A fantastic day here at Deplorable News Network. We'll see you soon. Amazing. We got the guy fired.
Jesus Christ.
You hungry? All this flames make me in the mood for Mexican.
My gosh. Oh my gosh.
That's what happens.
That's exactly what
That's exactly
happens.
what they just did to Kavanaugh.
Oh my goodness, whoever did that. Thank you. Who made that?
They're called Dweck. They have a Twitter and they have a Facebook. They also have one more video.
Are we gonna watch it?
No. Oh, here it is. Here's the article. Breitbart said,
so
Facebook blacklist comedy video which mocks mainstream media for hate speech. So Facebook had blacklisted it, but it's back up. The Fireman sketch was created by this comedy group, Dweck. It amassed 2.5 million views before being removed by
for
Facebook
hate speech.
last Sunday. Right, for hate speech.
It's not hate speech. It's hate against the media.
He said, "We created the sketch to show how mainstream media can twist a story even when it stars a life-saving hero," explained Dweck's president and host Vicar Dweck in an email to Breitbart Tech. "Our goal, as is the goal of our upcoming show, is to be so undeniably funny to people on both sides of the aisle that they can laugh together and have a healthy discussion." In 3 days, the sketch reached 5.4 million people, was viewed by 2.4 million people, and shared 36,000 times, and received feedback that was 98.99 positive. He continued, "So either there was a massive human error or somebody at Facebook didn't like that people were having a conversation. Facebook has previously targeted comedy content, taking down a number of popular meme pages, and in February, comedy website Funny or Die Matt Klinman claimed the social network had completely destroyed independent digital comedy."
Wow.
So,
thank you for doing that. David says, "What about Amy Schumer doing the communist salute?"
She was Black Power salute up into the camera. I hear she's going to hire a new stylist for her next look, which was the orange is the new black, probably. She wanted to be arrested there.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, guys. So that's kind of going to wrap up our show. I mean, the Kavanaugh thing, we're going to wait tomorrow. The vote is tomorrow. We've got one senator who has a wedding, his daughter's wedding tomorrow.
Yes.
And he said that if he's needed, he'll be there. I guess another senator or congressman from Montana is a millionaire who has a plane and has offered him his plane, use of his plane.
Oh, wow.
So that he can
like a private jet kind of thing.
Yeah, so that, like, because, like, you know, you can't rely on commercial airlines to get back and forth to a wedding,
right?
Because you might miss your flight. So if he needed to make it for the vote, he's got his private plane that he can just take him back to the wedding and just fly right into the wedding.
That's fantastic.
So if this vote is needed tomorrow, which it looks like it will be needed,
it
might not be needed.
Are you going to play your "Ain't Gonna Let Satan Ruin My Day" song? Because if you are, I have a video that I can play for the people that I just found interesting and fun. I think it was Tim Smith that sent this to me. And it is footage of Donald Trump being interviewed when he was 34 years old, my age.
34?
Yeah. And I just found it, I think Tim's email had said, you know, this kind of shows that Donald Trump has always been the same person, just who he is. This is not groundbreaking. You're not going to hear anything new, but you are going to get a feel for the consistency of Donald Trump from day one. That he's always kind of had the same views. So I'm going to pull up
You are a mover,
chat here.
You are a doer. If you could make America perfect, how would you do it?
Well, I think that America is a country that has tremendous, tremendous potential. I think that much like the mind, I think that America is using very, very little of its potential. I feel that this country with the proper leadership can go on to become what it once was. And I hope, and certainly hope, that it does go on to be what it should be.
What should it be?
Well, it should really be a country that gets the respect of other countries.
Is respect the most important thing in your opinion?
Well, respect can lead to other things. When you get the respect of the other countries, then the other countries tend to do a little bit as you do, and you can create the right attitudes. The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries. I honestly don't think they'd do it with other countries.
Obviously, you're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, etc., and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes. I don't think there's any question, and there's no question in my mind. I think right now would be an oil-rich nation, and I believe that we should have done it, and I'm very disappointed that we didn't do it, and I don't think anybody would have held us in abeyance. I don't think anybody would have been angry with us, and we had every right to do it at the time. I think we've lost the opportunity.
For some people, the ultimate goal in life has been becoming the President of the United States. Would you like to be the President of the United States?
I really don't believe I would, Rona, but I would like to see somebody as the president who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Most people who are capable are not running for office. Most men are frightened of politics today.
It is a shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a shame. The most capable people are not necessarily running for political office, and that is a very sad commentary on the country. They had major corporations and they had this and that, but they are not running for political office.
Why wouldn't someone like yourself run for political office? You have all the money that you possibly need. You've accomplished a great deal, even though you are only 34. I know there's a lot of things that you possibly can do in the years ahead. Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile. And that's a sad commentary for the political process.
Television, in a strange way, has ruined that process, hasn't it?
It's hurt the process very much. I mean, the Abraham Lincolns of the world. Abraham Lincoln would probably not be electable today because of television. He was not a handsome man, and he did not smile at all. He would not be considered to be a prime candidate for the presidency, and that's a shame, isn't it?
But if all the men are like you, then when are we going to get somebody who might be good?
I don't know. I hope it's around the corner, but I don't know. I really don't know. What I would like to be involved in is trying to help choose somebody, or working with a group of people whereby they put up a candidate who would be acceptable to be a presidential, to be the president. The country, if we had the one man, and it's really not that big a situation. You know, people say, well, what could anybody do as president? The one man could turn this country around. The one proper president could turn this country around. I firmly believe that.
If you lost your fortune today, what would you do tomorrow?
Maybe I'd run for president. I don't know.
So I really enjoyed watching that. No Flying Way says, is this the right time to be bringing out a video like that? I see no reason not to bring out a video like that ever. Because I think it shows the genuineness of Donald Trump. I think it shows that he didn't want a presidency. He wasn't seeking a presidency, but it is very interesting that his entire life, people have always wondered if he would ever run for president. And I think what happened with Donald Trump is he finally decided, well, everybody's been saying it for so long. Why not? Now is a time when they need righteousness. They need rightness more than ever. Why not? Why not throw my hat in the ring?
So I don't know about you guys, but there is a disturbance in the force,
as Maia says.
And if you have noticed, sometimes when like solar flares happen, you see like birds go the wrong direction or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
somebody said there's fish in the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
Prophesied in Ezekiel.
There's fish in the Dead Sea.
I don't remember which one of you said that.
And so if you guys are experiencing some technical difficulties in your own life within the past couple days, I want you to know that it's because this fervency, the devil is very active right now. And so what happens is, like, have you ever seen those movies where like you just pass something evil and then suddenly two people start arguing where they didn't even argue before? That's what's happening.
Right.
And so don't take anything personally that's happening in your own life because of what's happening by these evil people, like literally conjuring up Ouija boards. Because that's what they're doing when they're screaming, like, it's a satanic seance. When we showed you those videos, like, I'm going to Christian Bellabrands. I'm going to go to your senators. It's like literally some sort of satanic seance. They're literally calling up demons from the depth. And we, like Donald Trump, have to be, begone, foul spirit. You know, we brought up the Harry Potter thing, but we in spiritual Christianity realize that we do not battle with flesh and blood.
Right.
But there's a spiritual disturbance. These senators are not led by their own, like, mind. That's why they do think that's why a lot, like Dianne Feinstein, you can see it written all over her face. She's like, this isn't me.
Right.
This isn't me. This isn't me. Like, she's a little bit more on the procedural side, but forced and sucked into the, what would you call, slam 'em side, the violent side of things. I don't believe that Feinstein's a communist. So what you see on the left is this total violence, and it's going to take us doesn't matter. These votes don't matter. Kavanaugh vote doesn't matter. You know, even if he's voted in, the spirit is happening. They want a civil war. People keep talking about it. They're literally bringing up their little soy boy men and women to do violent things. And we need to fight back spiritually.
Right.
And I wrote this song when I was like 16 years old. And it's a simple song.
It's one of the very first songs you wrote, and then you played it at your graduation. Now, granted, we were homeschooled, so Leah had a rather large graduation with another fellow homeschooled a girl that we knew. So it wasn't like a high school graduation, but still, it was almost like a wedding. All of our families were there.
There's about maybe 300 people there.
I don't know if there were that many, but it was a lot of people.
Yeah. But it was a lot of people. So I sang this, Ain't Gonna Let Satan Ruin My Day. So what you need to do is when you start to feel that the pressure rising, the devil wants to get you to get out of faith.
Yeah.
To stop believing in the word, to stop believing that God's going to turn things around, to stop believing that, you know, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you. If my people who call by my name, who humble themselves and seek my face and turn from my wicked ways, I'll come and I'll heal their land. Believing in healing, believing in restoration.
Right.
He wants you to just look at your own life and say, wow, this is just really awful and nothing is ever going to change and blah, blah, blah. But actually, right on the other side of that is usually your biggest victory. Some of the most, you know, beautiful rainbows are right after a storm, when that sunlight comes in. Allow that sunlight to come out in your life when the rain's there, and you'll get a rainbow. You'll get this calm and this peace. So that's what this is. That's what this song is.
Shout, oh,
such a powerful song because the Bible says that when the devil comes in like a flood, God raises up a standard, like a wall against him, and it can't attack you. So it's so important in situations and in times where we feel the devil attacking that we allow God to raise up that standard to protect you in those situations.
So as I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about God moving, I have a song. It's called, I think I might have played it for you guys, When I Want to Go Back. It's not necessarily that we want to go back in time, but we talked a lot about Donald Trump there talked about Abraham Lincoln.
Well, the part that you missed, he said that he thinks that our country, and this was back in like 1980, needs to go back to what it once was. And I find that that's really interesting because on the left, we don't see that. All we hear is our nation was never great.
Right.
We hear about slavery. We hear about, women's rights. We hear about all the bad things in our country. But really, in all honesty, our nation was great. And we do need to go back to what it once
1776, Michelle's awesome shirt. Jasper just wanted to go to the door. So this is a little story. And I think that this goes perfectly along with, I call him Uncle Trump. I can't help it. This is a little story, yeah, about a little history. I love that you're wearing that shirt. This is a little story, yeah, about a little history. Well, the world hasn't always been the way it is. My country wasn't always led by public schools or feminists. Our view of history is clouded by circumstance. But there was a time when the word of God ruled this land. Oh, when right was right and wrongs were punished. And our founding fathers knew to go against God would lead to this nation being crushed. Oh, they needed God. Oh, we need God. And we need to go back. Oh, we need to go back. Back, 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 back. Back, 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 back. Back to where God's rules and we rule. 'Cause we knew that we needed God if we were to conquer this land back. Oh, we need to go back, 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 back. Oh, we need to go back, 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 back. Oh, when kids weren't raised by Disney and MTV. When the meaning of rebellion was to hike your skirt up and show a little me. When going to Sunday church, it was a given. And if you didn't show up, then you must be sinning. Oh, popular thought looks back and tell you you've become so far. You've gone from created man to from an ape. We have evolved. We need to go back. Back, 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 back. Oh, back, 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 back to where holy, oh, pure, oh, and true. Honesty, trust,
This is a little story, yeah, about a little history. Well, the world hasn't always been the way it is. My country wasn't always led by public schools and feminists. Our view of history is clouded by circumstance. But there was a time when the word of God ruled this land. Oh, when right was right and wrongs were punished. And our founding fathers knew to go against God would lead to this nation being crushed. So they needed God, and we needed God, and we need to go back. Oh, we need to go back. Skirt up and show a little knee. And going to Sunday church was a given. And if you didn't show up, then hey, you must be sinning. Oh, popular thought looks back and says we've gone so far. We've gone from created man to from an ape. We have evolved, but we need to go back. Motherhood was respected and women, they didn't want to be men. I don't, you don't. When rising careers weren't the top ambition, and selfishness was put aside for good God, honest living. There was a time of holiness and a God-fearing land. When motherhood was respected and women, they didn't want to be men. No, 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 no. When rising careers weren't the top, selfishness was put aside for good guys. guilty. Where the Supreme Court doesn't make laws. Father God, we recommit our country to you. As a people and as a group, we ask you, Father, to flow through us, to bring back healing. And Lord, we pray for our liberal and our lefty brothers and sisters who are in pain right now. And we say, come on over. Get washed in the blood, in the healing stream, in the water. It'll feel so much better when you just walk away from the Democratic Party. When you walk away from Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters and Chucky Schumer. Wipe away those Schumer tears tonight. Come on, liberals. This boat is big. There's plenty for everyone. It's a big tent. Mother, father, and son. Doesn't matter your color, your creed, or your race, or your age, or your denomination. Just say, I want to live in a Christian country based on Christian principles. Thank you, Jesus. Come on, liberals. We're going to pray for them tonight. Father God, I pray that you comfort these liberals. That you comfort these Democrats who are screaming. And you say to them, it's okay. It's okay. Go over there with those people. They'll accept you. They want you. They'll be your friend. Throw off the violence, the anger, and the hatred, and embrace love. Love, love, love. Come on, y'all. Walk away, baby. Holy, pure, and true. Honesty, trustworthy, with the things really value.
Awesome. Woo! All right, hot dog.
Come on, ride the train. Ride it.
She just did. Girl just did do that.
Now, we're not done yet. Because while we sit here and we wait, how many of you want to hear Michelle play a song?
Not going to happen.
So, Michelle's going to go get her notebook.
She's not.
And we're going to hear a song because everyone says Michelle's song. Now, you guys got to say Michelle's song. It's Michelle's song. You got a 30-second lag. It's just going to be a minute. Michelle's song.
Kelly and Eric are going to go live at 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. We want you guys to be there.
Time for a song from Michelle.
We will see you back on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Michelle's song. Michelle's song.
And
Michelle's song. There it is. There's one.
We will cover our
Michelle's song.
UK and European
Come on,
news.
Michelle. Oh, two. That's two. You never say no to your viewers. You never say no. Go get it. You can even play this one. Get your notebook. Whatever you were going to play yesterday. Here we go. We're going to play. Whoop, whoop. Here comes Michelle Train. Okay. Who put the cognac in Leah's coffee? Guys, I got to tell you. You need the Holy Ghost, baby. I got to tell you, it ain't no high like a Holy Ghost high because the Holy Ghost high don't stop. I'm a drug addict. That's why I went to Bible school. I need the Holy Ghost, baby. I need the Holy Ghost. And there's no hangover. Now, the next day. Now, I'll tell you what, though. Sometimes the devil will come and try to take it from you when you're walking in the Holy Spirit. Just don't let him do that. Because that's the only downside. Sometimes you start walking in the power of God. You start walking and the devil be like, trying to trip you, putting a stick in your bicycle spoke. And you be like, Lord Jesus, I just walked in the Holy Spirit about minutes ago. What just happened now? Don't let him do that to y'all. Now, we're going to switch spots. The guitar's name is Montana. So be nice to Montana. Montana. We finally got to go to Montana. I cannot believe we actually went to Montana last year.
That was a long time coming.
I love going to Montana, and I can't wait to go back. Okay. This one. You want this one?
It doesn't matter.
Sometimes the thicker ones are easier.
After those songs, though, I don't know.
It's the Holy Ghost, baby. Just flow. We're gonna flow.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Okay. Thank you guys for being here with us this evening. Extra long show today. But like I said, Eric and Kelly will be going live tonight on Kelly PB Fam's channel. Kelly, go ahead and leave another comment so everybody can click on your stream. If you guys are not subscribed to Kelly and Eric, please do so now. Kelly tells me they got their sound issues worked out. Really disappointing last week because we were looking forward to being with you guys. So we'll see you back on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for European and UK news. Thank you to all of our moderators who were here. We are going to be doing a giveaway for Deb's shirts and the brooches. So I'm going to probably do a video on that either tomorrow or Sunday, just a video by itself to show you guys how you can. I'm going to come up with something. See, it's not just going to be like a giveaway like, oh, no, you're going to have to do something. This is audience participation is going to be required. I think the last time we did a giveaway, we had you guys list what your first red pill moment was. Yeah, I remember that. So we're going to come up with something like that. So I'm going to do a completely separate short video to show you guys how to enter in for the giveaway that we are going to be doing. So that rounds off our show. Thank you for being here. Remember, we love you and God loves you. God bless. We have a P.O. box. Send in your letters. We want to read them on air. Your commentary. I think I've got a couple of emails that I can get to and read, but we've gone too long today on our show. So, but I do want to get to that. P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.
We love you.
We love you guys.
God bless you.
And we'll see you back on Sunday.
God bless.
God bless.
I was cold.